Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. I hope wherever you are in the world, today has been treating you so well. In today's video, I am diving headfirst into the new / old / new release, re-release, reimagined Wilderness palette from Beauty Bay. So this is a limited edition palette that they brought out a number of years ago, and this was before I was in the loop with Beauty Bay eyeshadow palettes, and I never got this the first time around, so I am so excited that they have re-released it. Now they seem to be re-releasing a load of their older limited edition palettes. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for the Love Notes palette, and also that little 8-pan pastel palette that I still think is incredible and I still have, but they haven't sold for years. I'm hoping in spring, yes I am thinking that far ahead, that we will get that palette again. Either way, I'm very excited that they're bringing out their limited edition palettes once again. The ones that I missed out on, and also potentially some of the ones that I already have and already love. So, like I say, we're going to be getting into the Wilderness palette today. I'm going to be swatching. I'm going to be coming up with some sort of eyeshadow look. And when I tell you this palette is so up my street, I could practically build myself a little house upon it and live in it until I am old and grey. This could potentially be my perfect palette because it's green and it's warm and it's got the golden tones and the orange tones, but it's green. It's green. I love the look of this palette. I love the colour story. I'm very excited that I now have this in my possession, and also that I'm going to be playing with it today. So, like I say, I'm going to swatch. I'm going to come up with an eyeshadow look. I'm going to give you my first impressions today, but I will be doing an eyeshadow palette bingo. I will be doing a 3 looks with. There will be so much more content with this palette. You better believe it. So if you want to see more from this palette, subscribe down below, because I am also posting every single day in October. Yes, I am already losing my mind. So let's get into some swatches, because I can't control myself, okay? I can't control myself with this colour story. I'm so excited. So let's just get on into some swatches. Let me zoom you in. Okay, so one last look at the palette before I ruin it by digging my fingers into all of these shades. Obviously, like, if you know me, you know my channel, you know my vibe, you know that I am very interested in this shade here called Breeze. I absolutely love the tone of this, but I'm just very excited about this whole colour story. I'm definitely also going to try and use this shade, this orange down at the bottom, as a blush. I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna see how I feel about that one as a blush, because I think that that would be lovely. As a massive lover of an orange blush, I think that that could definitely work. Sunrise, that could definitely be a blush. So let's start at the top and work our way across and swatch all of these shades, starting with Snow, a nice light nude shade, exactly the same tone as my skin. That is fine. If you are very pale, if you are very fair like me, perfect shade for blending something out. Let's go in with the shade Sky, which is more of like it's a little bit sort of dusky. It's not a very bright like baby blue. I wouldn't even necessarily say that this is a sky blue. Like, it's got a little bit of something to it, a little bit of a slightly different undertone, a little bit sort of murky, but very pretty. I'm not the biggest lover of blues on me. I don't know if it's because I've got blue eyes, but that's a really nice undertone. Then the shimmers in Beauty Bay palettes are incredible, so I'm very excited. Ooh, it's really soft. This one is grey. Look at that. That's like a little bit duochromy. Okay, let me just wipe. I'm already making a mess. This is Ray. Yeah, I'm gonna need that one all over my inner corner. That is a beautiful, almost like gold to green shift. I'm just neatening up the swatch. Sheer, like it is a sheer wash of a shimmer, but the shift in that is beautiful. Then next up is Twilight, and this is the darkest blue. Oh my gosh, that's so pigmented. The deepest, darkest blue I think I have ever seen. Again, I am making a mess. That's fine. If you are coming here expecting me to not make a mess, you're in the wrong place. So next up is Ocean, and this again looks like a duo, like a little bit duochromy. It's almost lilac. I love lilac as well. I really, really like that. It's like a lilac, and then when it catches the light, it's like a bright baby blue. That's very, very pretty. So on to the second row, we have got the shade Forest, which, as you would expect, is a matte forest green. Again, really, really pigmented. Building up nicely, very, very smooth. Looks like a beautiful forest green colour. Then we have got Breeze, and let me just make sure that you are fully in focus for this, because this shade, I'm gonna need that all over my whole being. I love that shade. That's incredible. That is so beautiful, so bright. Almost got like a neon quality to it, very, very bright. Then we have got the shade Mint, which is, as you would expect, a pastel mint shade. Very pretty. Again, not as, like, the shades are almost a little bit dusky. Like, they're not as bright as I was maybe first expecting them to be. They're beautiful, but they are a little bit sort of muted for a very colourful colour story. So then we have got the shade Moss, which is, again, a really deep green, but has that almost goldeny, warm reflect to it. That's very, very pretty. And then lastly, for the green row, we have got Ivy, which is the darkest green that is verging on black. That is so, so deep and so pigmented. That really is very, very pretty. Perfect for like deepening something up, you know, it's got that depth, that richness to it. Really pretty colour story so far. I'm very, very excited about this palette, can you tell? So then on to the third row, we have got the shade Lime, which again is just so smooth and reflective. Like, the shimmers in Beauty Bay palettes are phenomenal. Then we have got Leaf, which is a matte. Wow, that colour is beautiful. So I almost feel like we've got more blue toned greens, and then these are like, now we are on to like the warmer toned greens, which I love. Then we have got the shade Eucalyptus, which again is just a little bit deeper, a little bit darker. I will say I have incredibly dry skin, so I do have a little bit of moisturizer on, so if you're thinking that these look a little patchy, it's because it's grabbing to the moisturizer on my arm. They don't go patchy when they're on the eyes, when you're blending them out, anything like that. The formula is fantastic. I'm just wanting to show you like the colour like straight off. So that one was Eucalyptus. Beautiful warm greens. I really like this row. I really, really like this row. So then lastly on the third row, we have got the shade Marigold. Which if you know me, you know I love a mustard. A warm mustardy yellow with some of these warmer greens. Do you see where my brain is going? And then we have got the shade Fossil, the last one, on the third row. And that is very pretty. The warmth in that. And the reflection. Okay. I really, really like that shade as well. Could I use that as an inner corner highlight? Probably. It looks like bright and reflective enough. The ideas are flowing. So then onto the last row, onto the reds, we have got the shade Poppy, which is a true bright red matte. Then next to it is Raw, and I say that Poppy is a true bright red because you can see in comparison there where Raw is more of like a burgundy. It's got more depth and more like warmth to it, where Poppy is just straight up red. Raw has more of that warmer sort of brown toned undertone. Then we have got Heat, which in the pan looks like a shimmer, but yeah, on the skin that's more like a satin finish. Very smooth and not as reflective as, like, you know, some of these other ones. Very, very pretty, but just not as reflective as some of the other shimmers in the palette. It's just a slightly different formula to those. And then the last two shades are also mattes. So we have got Earth, which is a beautiful warm toned brown. That is very, very pretty. And then we have got Sunrise, that orange that I said I want to try as a blush. That with a light hand, 100,000% will work as a blush for me. But I get that not everybody wants an orange blush. I do, however. So this is the full colour story. I wish I was organised enough to be able to get it all like on one side of the arm, but there we go, that is everything. Let me go ahead and put some eyeshadow primer on. And if you haven't heard, Beauty Bay are bringing back their eyeshadow primer. It's going to be available, it'll be available by the time you see this. I'm not gonna say that I will be setting an alarm for midnight, but if I happen to get up in the night, I will take my phone with me and I will purchase another of the Beauty Bay eyeshadow primers because it's the best eyeshadow primer. I'm using the e.l.f. one today, but my preference would always be the Beauty Bay one. It's so good. It's so, so good. If you are on the Beauty Bay website looking at their eyeshadows, I highly recommend the eyeshadow primer. So I'm just going to tap this in and then we can come up with a look together. I still don't know what I'm going to do, but it is the middle of the night. We can figure something out together. We can go a little bit feral today. There we go. So that has had a little second just to get really, really nice and tacky to really grab onto the beauty and the grace that is the pigment in these shades. I have also ISO cleaned a load of my eyeshadow brushes. So let's start with something small and fluffy, such as this one. And I think I'm going to do... What am I going to do? I want to use that Marigold shade, this one, through the crease. I'm trying to like figure out what I want to do before I do it. I never usually do this. I just dive straight on in. But I want some sort of plan. Is it going to work out that way? Absolutely not. Can I try? I can try. So let's go in with Marigold on the inner part of the crease. Let's go in with Raw on the outer part of the crease. Let's use Lime. And I don't know, let's just start with that marigold shade. I'm done planning. Starting with the marigold shade, that like mustardy, on the inner part of the crease, right here. And just look at that pigment. I love Beauty Bay eyeshadows. I am the biggest fan, and I'm so glad that this one is in my collection now. I'm so sad that I missed out on it last time. And what was that other like Christmassy one? Was it like the Book of Magic is ringing a bell? Something like that, and it had like beautiful jewel tones in it. Yes, I want that one too. Because they are also including their updated formulas with the like duochromes, like this Ray shade. They wouldn't, I don't know 100%, but I don't know if that would have been a shifty in the original version of this palette. If you had this palette, you'll have to let me know. But I'm very, very excited about where Beauty Bay is going with all of these palettes. So I'm going to take another small brush and let's go into Raw, this darker red. And let me get my other little mirror. And let's put this further out. And then I will blend Sunrise in between these two. Deepen up with this beautiful deep red. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that this doesn't stain. Because I do have to go to work in the morning. In like less than 12 hours. So just keep your fingers crossed for me. I will use that same brush to tap over some of that Sunrise shade, the orange. So actually we have a sort of sunrise slash sunset sort of blend going across here. I am not mad at that. I will just drag this out a little bit, but I'm very happy with that blend. So easy. So easy. If you are just starting out in makeup, or you're not that confident with blending, you're not that confident with like colour selection, anything like that, I highly recommend the Beauty Bay eyeshadows because they're just so user friendly. They are just the right amount of pigment. They're not too much. They don't take a ton of building, but you can absolutely blend them out. I'm a really big fan, and I really am enjoying this colour story so far. I know I've only got 3 on my eyeball. We'll get there. We will get there. How many will I get on my eyeball by the end of this video? As many as possible, let's wait and see. I'm just taking a clean fluffy brush right over the top edge of this just to soften it all down. In fact, let's go in with a little bit of that snow shade because it is the same colour as my skin. But I can see it, like I can see it on my finger, like it is pigmented. So I do believe that if you had a deeper skin tone than mine, it would act as like a brightening colour. It just happens to be exactly the same colour as the skin that I was born in. So just really lightly dusting that over the top edge just to blend that beautiful sunset across the crease. And then what do I want to do on the eyelid? I'm thinking maybe Eucalyptus, this darker green, this one. I definitely want to use Lime, and I'm definitely interested in Ray. And then we have Sunrise in this blend here, so it will match if I use that as my blush as well. So let's do that. Let's start with Eucalyptus. Again, let's use a smaller brush, a little bit more of a dense brush, and let's pack this right onto the outer corner. I don't necessarily think that this will blend too well with the red because they're contrasting, but that's fine. I don't necessarily need them to. So just packing that on there and just tapping over a little bit so that they're a little bit acquainted, but not necessarily blending them together. So I've just added a little bit more of that red shade right onto the outer corner, and I think that I'm happy with the depth from the green from that Eucalyptus shade. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my finger to apply some of that lime shade, because like I barely even touched my finger into that, and it's just so smooth and pigmented and reflective. And actually I think that the way that that's catching the light, and it has more of that golden undertone to it, that's going to go with that crease real nice. So I'm just going to tap this over. The shimmers do work best, in my opinion, applied with your finger rather than a brush. But I have long nails, I'm not going anywhere near the inner corner, so I'm going to have to get a little creative with that, but that's fine. I'm just tapping over when there isn't as much on my finger, just tapping over those crease colours, and then I will go back in with all of those brushes and just make sure that that lime shade is blended how I want it to be. I think that that is looking real nice. Where's that other brush? This one. I've got so many clean brushes at my disposal now that I'm getting confused between them all. So that is how that lime shade is looking. That's such a beautiful bright green. I love. So I'm going to take more of a dense brush, more of like a pencil brush, and I'm going to dip into that Ray shade, this bright, reflective, beautiful shade, and I'm really picking that up on the brush. I'm not necessarily worried about fallout because I don't have any of the base makeup on yet, so I can always clean this up, but I'm just really going to press this in to the inner corner. And this is definitely more sheer, but that is so bright and reflective. My mouth is watering. And not only because I haven't had any tea and it is 8:44 in the evening. It's fine. Who needs to eat anyway? Not when there's eyeshadows to be playing with like this. I don't need pizza, I need eyeshadow. There we go. So I am happy with how all of that is looking. I love the depth on the outer corner. I love the brightness on the inner corner. That lime shade across the lid is doing it for me. I feel like I look like a bird, which is what I always want. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this up. Am I going to sharpen this off? Or am I going to round it out? I might round it out, you know, do something a little bit different. I'll do the rest of my base makeup, and then we can finish up under the eye together. I might use some of the blues actually. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll be right back. Okay, so just finishing off the lip with the Beauty Bay lip tint in the shade Slippers, and I was trying to figure out what blush to to use, and I remembered I'm going to use the orange. I'm going to just take my regular blush brush and I'm lightly going to dip into this orange on the bottom row, and then we can finish off the eye look together. I think I sharpened this up, but I think I want to like round it back out with some of the other shades. So I've got that sunrise shade there, and I'm ever so gently going to tap this onto the skin. I love an orange blush, and that one, that works as a blush for me. I am not mad at that. Just blending out the edges, and that like ties in nicely with the orange that I've already got on the eyes. I highly recommend using eyeshadow as blush. It will always end well, I promise you. I have done the legwork. I love that as a blush. It's just a matte orange, but that's a beautiful undertone for a blush. I like that. Let me just blend that out a little bit more. So I also have on the foundation is the Made by Mitchell Build. The concealer is the MUA Under Eye Brightener. The bronzer is the new bronzer stick from MUA that I tested earlier in the week. The lip is the Essence 8 Hour Comfort Matte Lip Liner with the Beauty Bay lip tint. And that is you all caught up. But I love that as a blush. That's real pretty. So let's go in with... I might go in with this green shade to tie in the green, then maybe this blue under here, just to say that I've used the blue. Because otherwise I've really only used the bottom half, and as I was swatching this I realised like it's cool tones and warm tones. Like it's all the cool tones across the top 2 rows and then warm tones across the bottom 2 rows. So me being me, I'm going to live in the bottom rows, but I do really like some of the tones in the top as well. So let me, what brush do I want to use? Something a little bit more dense. Let's go in with this one because I've got the rest of my base done now. And I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to go in with that Ivy shade. So this is the green that I've already got on the outer corner. I'm going to go in with this one really lightly. And I'm going to tap that on the outer corner and round it out a little bit. I'm going to try and like soften down that line that I created when I clean that up. So I'm just going to take that brush that I was using to apply the yellow, and I'm just going to spend a little bit of time wiggling backwards and forwards over this line here just to soften it a tiny little bit. Blend it in. We're getting there. Let me just do this for a minute. I shouldn't have sharpened it up. 'Tis always the case. I'm just going over with a little bit more of that sunrise shade that we just used as blush, and again I'm just softening down all of that edge, and I'm not worried about like dragging this right out because that's the colour that we've got on as blush, so it all just sort of blends in. I'm going to put a little bit more of that Ivy shade right on the outer corner, and then I think I'm happy with the depth there. And honestly, yeah, I probably am going to add a wing, so you're not going to be able to see that anyway. It's fine. I'm just wiping that brush off on a little microfiber towel that I keep on my knee here, and I'm going to use that same brush into Sky, that blue, and I'm going to keep that right next to the lash line. That's very pretty. I don't usually like blue, and especially I don't usually like blue on the lower lash line, but that's nice and bright actually down there. I quite like that. Yes, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to blend that blue out too far, but I like that colour. I'm going to just go back in with that dense brush that I was using for Ray right on the inner corner, and I'm going to add more of that, but I'm going to tap off the brush so that there isn't too much fallout, and I'm really going to pack that right onto the inner corner, and I'm going to put that sort of along the lower little bit of the lash line there, just to really intensify that inner corner highlight. You know, I really like this shade as an inner corner. It's very, very pretty. And I do feel like where that is reflecting a little bit warm, it's sort of tying in with the yellow on the top, but also it doesn't look out of place with the blues down on the lower lash line. And I think I'm happy with all of that. I mean, I'm not completely happy with all of this on the outer corner, but I shouldn't have cleaned that up because it's hard to get rid of that line. Then I will go back in with a little bit more of that raw. Will that soften that down a bit? Oh, it will. There we go. That's better. I just needed a bit more of that red, that deepest red right out there. Okay, I am genuinely happy with how this is looking now, so I'm going to go ahead and do a wing and mascara. I don't know what products I'm going to use, but I'll find something. I'll be right back. There we go. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I love this look. I look and feel like a parrot. I love how this has turned out. Those shimmers across the lid are incredible. I love how this looks. I love the colours together. I will just take a clean brush and soften this line out a little bit, but overall I am very, very happy with how this is looking. I would love to hear what you think. If you have this palette, from the first time round, or if you have it from this time round, I would love to hear what you think of it. First impressions, I think this might be my favourite of the limited edition palettes that I've tried from Beauty Bay. There's something about the warm tones and the greens. I love green and I love the warm tones. I think I love it. Oh, I think it's my favourite and I think I'm really happy I have it. I would love to hear what you think though. If you hate the look, that's fine, you don't have to wear it, but I'm really, really happy with how it's turned out. It is a shame that it's like, I don't even know, what time is it? 9:15 in the evening, and what could I possibly do other than just go and get in the shower? Like, I have nowhere to be. Not that I would want to be anywhere at 9:15 in the evening, but it seems a shame to waste this makeup look on not going out somewhere. I love it. I love the colours. I love that colourful makeup is slowly but surely coming back. I love this look. I love this palette. I'm very, very excited to use it some more. Like I say, if you have this palette, what colour combinations do you enjoy? I want to know as well if you have the original of this palette that came out whenever it was. Is that Ray? Is it Ray? Yeah, is that Ray shade, this one? Is that like a duochrome? And some of the others as well definitely are. I want to know, because I feel like Beauty Bay's duochrome formulas are still quite new. But I don't know, maybe they had them in this one. I never had this palette the first time around, like I say, so I'm excited to play with it some more. Like I say, I will be doing an eyeshadow palette bingo, and I will be doing 3 looks with, because I'm very, very inspired by this colour story, but that will be in October. That will be one of 31 videos that will be going up in October, and that is all I've got to say. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I will leave everything linked down below. If you have made it to the very, very end of this video, leave me a comment down below with the parrot emoji, because I feel like I look like a parrot and I love it. But that is everything. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye bye.